Alright, this video I'll go over referencing properties and arithmetic operations. So to start with, if you remember in the variables video, I stored a part inside of a variable. I want to go over how that works and how I was actually able to reference the part and make you guys understand that. But to do that, I need to explain to you guys how the hierarchy of parts work and how the hierarchy of objects work in Roblox. So to understand how the hierarchy of objects work in Roblox, I've got a whiteboard here and I'm going to explain how it works. So in Roblox, we use the same logic of parents and children. And what I mean by that is how there's a parent and the parent has children and then those children have children. And so this children or this child is a child to this child. So this child is also a parent. It's a parent to this part, but it's a child to this part. This is the parent part. This is a child, this is a child. This child has a child. Now this is a child to this, but a parent to this. Make sense? Now let me show you that in Roblox. We have a parent part here, and underneath this parent part we have three other parts. These are the child parts. Boom, boom, boom. Then this part here is the child of this part because it's underneath it. It's inside it. So that's how that works. And so you may think, how do I reference these parts? So let me explain this now. When I type workspace, I'm referencing the service workspace up here in the Explorer. And then I want to get the part that's inside of the workspace. And the parent of this part is workspace, since when I open workspace, the part's here. You can also see that in the properties tab. It says parent here. It's assigned to workspace, right? So to access a child of a object, you do something called dot notation, which is where you go dot. It brings up a list of options, and we're going to choose the parent part. Workspace dot parent part. And if I wanted to choose another part that's inside of that, workspace dot parent part dot child part. I'm going to name it child part. So to get this child part here, to get this child part, I had to go to workspace, I had to go to parent part, and then I found the child part. And that's how dot notation works. Workspace, parent part, child part. Now I'll give you more examples. So if we go to the scripts that I have here, this script is a child of service script service. So if we look at the parent and properties, it's set to service script service because it's underneath it. So hopefully you guys understand that now. So to teach you guys some arithmetic operations now, I'm going to print them out. Now we'll start with a simple 10 plus 10. Now of course you all know what 10 plus 10 does, and I'm just going to show you that so does the code. When you click run from doing 10 plus 10, it will print out the result of that, which is 20. Now you can do plus, you can do minus, which will print out 0. You can do multiplication and division. To do multiplication, you do an asterisk like that, a star, and that'll be 100. And then to do division, you can use a slash, and that'll be 1. I'm just going to delete that. And let me remind you guys that you can use variables for this, which you will do when you guys start coding yourselves. So let's go number 1 is equal to 50 and number 2 is equal to 20. Then we'll use another variable. Sum is equal to number 1 plus number 2. Can't type. Alright. So let me explain what this does. We have a variable sum, and we're assigning it, we're storing inside of it the operation number 1 plus number 2. Number 1 is 50, number 2 is 20. So all we're doing is storing 50 plus 20 inside of sum, which would be 70. Right there. And then you can also do times, you can also do divide, minus, all of that. Now you guys need to remember that when doing calculations, they happen in a certain way. For example, if I do 100 plus 5 times 2, 5 times 2 will happen first, and that'll become 10, and then 100 plus 10 will happen, and that'll become 110, and then result is equal to 110. Let me show you guys that. See, 110. Now let's say I wanted it to do 100 plus 5 and then do 105 times 2. Instead, what I would do is I would put brackets around that. And brackets means do this first. So now the brackets will take priority, do 105 and then 105 times 2 to make 210. There you go, 210. Now another thing with dot notation is that it's not only used to get the children of parents, it's also used to reference properties of an object. So let me show you that. I have a part here in workspace. If I go local part is equal to workspace.part, now this part variable is serving as a reference to this part in the workspace. Now in the code, if I wanted to make this part transparent, right? Turns transparent, do that. If I want to do that in the code, I need to somehow in the code access the properties of this. And we use dot notation for the same thing. Part dot transparency is equal to 1. And I'll show you that. You can see it disappeared. If I highlight it, transparency is set to 1. So you can use dot notation to also reference properties of objects. Now, one more thing with dot notation is that, let's say this part was called nice part with a space. You see I put a nice part. Now, what you'd probably expect is you go workspace dot nice part, but you realize that doesn't work because you can't put a space in the code because a space indicates a separation, so it's not the same thing. So in this example, in this scenario, doing dot notation does not work. So instead what you have to do is put these square brackets, put these quotation marks, and type nice part there. And that will reference part all the same as dot notation would. And that's how you reference objects that have a space in their name. It's also how you reference objects that start with a number in their name. If this part is called 1, you can't do workspace.1. You can't do workspace.1 like that. So you have to do that. There you go. So to summarize, we have dot notation, which is used to retrieve children from parents and reference things in scripts. For example, we have a part inside of workspace. We use to retrieve that, we go workspace dot part, and if there was more parts, we would just do dot part dot part dot part. If that was inside like that, we'd do workspace dot part dot part. Then we have number part. We have a scenario here where the part is named a number, so in which dot notation wouldn't work, so we have to do this square brackets with a string inside. We'd also need to do this if the part had a name, if the part had a space in the name, and so we'd need to do part, we need to do that, because dot notation would not work. We also use dot notation to reference properties. So here we're referencing the transparency property of the part and setting it to 1. Then in arithmetic operations we have plus, times, we can also do divide, we can also do subtract, and how brackets affect the order of which calculations play out. So yeah, that'll be it for this one. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, all that, turn the bell on. Um, Join the discords in the comments below. If you need help, I got you. Also share the videos with any of your friends or anyone that wants to learn how to script as well. And yeah, adios.